Hello, my name is Yanis, and I'm a Greek archaeologist. We're talking about the most important prehistoric archaeological area in Greece. We have discovered many things, but we haven't found any human skeletal remain. Nothing. Why? This is the mystery. I believe that the myth of Atlantis was based on a true story. The story of Akrotiri, the story of the island of Santorini.
On the southern coast of the Greek island of Santorini lies the mysterious ancient city of Akrotiri. Thought to have once been inhabited by an ancient Minoan civilization, Akrotiri is a Bronze Age settlement which has puzzled archaeologists for years. It's theorized that the inhabitant was destroyed by a volcanic eruption and the city was covered in ash, but this theory just brings up a whole lot of new questions. What's strange about Akrotiri is that, although the people that lived in the city had established one of the most advanced prehistoric civilizations that we have ever discovered across the globe, they disappeared without a trace and left no clues as to where they went. How can the entire population of a city, once filled with thousands of people, just up and leave without leaving a single shred of evidence telling us where they traveled to? The landing spot of the people that lived at Akrotiri has never been found, and the history of their civilization seems to end with the history of Akrotiri. The fact that there have never been any human or animal remains found within the city deepens the mystery even further for archaeologists, as usually one of the first things that a dig team finds upon beginning an excavation is a set of bones or a cemetery. It's just downright crazy that the entire population of the city managed to escape without leaving a single buried person behind, or even a single carcass of an animal that they had either been raising or had recently consumed. When in Athens later on our trip, we had the pleasure of stopping by the National Archaeological Museum, a wonderful place that actually has on display some of the more significant finds from Akrotiri. You can see ancient weapons, pottery that was found there in the settlement, and even the famous frescoes which once adorned some of the walls of the buildings inside of the city. These are original fresco paintings from the time of the Minoans, which have been remarkably preserved due to the fact that the ancient artists used mineral-based paints to create their work, which led to the frescoes being remarkably well preserved. Just walking around Akrotiri is an amazing experience. To see ancient mechanics come to life is an astounding thing, and to imagine yourself there in the city back when it was a functioning home to thousands of people is insane. Luckily, one of the archaeologists who guided us around the prehistoric site that day agreed to do an interview for the show, and what he told me blew my mind. Listen closely as the mystery deepens further.
Hello, my name is Yanis, and I'm a Greek archaeologist. I work as an archaeologist the latest 12 years. And you know, this is not only my job, this is my passion. I will try to describe to you why this place, Akrotiri, is so important. We're talking about the most important prehistoric archaeological area in Greece, and generally one of the most important around the world. Prehistoric, I repeat, prehistoric areas. Why is this? You know, we have here a very important city, advanced, prosperous, related with the Minoics and the Minoic civilization that was destroyed after the big explosion of the volcano of Santorini during the 17th century BC. That volcano took the life from here, but at the same time gave that city to the eternity. This is, very important for us. We're talking about an advanced society. We have discovered different objects that proves that they were so advanced and prosperous. They traveled a lot. They get the knowledge, the different things. They get the knowledge from the different places. They went in Egypt, in Cyprus, in Crete. They traveled all around the Mediterranean Sea and they learned many things, and they came back here. And they made it to create something important. Important buildings, big buildings with advanced facilities. They had to use, sometimes they used also anti-seismic, some anti-seismic measures. They get some anti-seismic measures. Wooden frames inside the walls, sewage system, draining system, buildings with different floors that give us an idea about how important they were. It's something amazing. Think about it. We're talking about the 17th century BC, 3,500 years from now. We have discovered many things, but we haven't found any human skeletal remain. Nothing. Animal skeletal remain? Nothing. Valuable objects? Almost nothing. Why? This is the mystery. I believe that we are talking about, as I said, advanced society, people that they knew how to protect themselves. We have found objects under cases of doors and windows. So we know that they knew how to protect themselves. And as we do now, they did in the past. They tried to protect their belongings. And then, what happened? They evacuated the place. They went somewhere else. We don't know exactly where, but they evacuated the place. Right now we're trying to realize, to understand, to find something more. You know, we don't excavate right now. It's important to restart our excavations, our researches, to learn more things about that important city. It's very important to find the necessary fundings. It's very important for us. Right now, we're just digging a small corner of that city. This is because over there we have discovered the only thing, the only valuable thing that we have here, this statue. I don't know if it's clear, but we are talking about a small statue of a golden ibex. The only thing that they left here. We presume that it was a present to the gods. That's why they couldn't take it with them. And they left it here. And in that place where we have discovered this one, we try from that place to get more informations. You know, for us it's not just digging. It's how we try to write history again. You know, all those things that I've said to you are based on facts, proofs, archaeological finds. But we have something more here. We have an island, the island of Santorini, with this semi-lunar shape. But it wasn't always like this. That semi-lunar shape was different. The island was different. I mean, it was circular about 4,000 years ago, before the main explosion, the explosion that destroyed that city, the city of Akrotiri. Before that time, it was circular. And we have a myth, you know, a myth that is related with that place. Let's try to find out if it's related, first of all. You know, the myth of Atlantis. We have learned about that myth from Plato, Plotinus, a Greek philosopher that lived in Athens during the 5th century. He tried, let's say better, that we have learned from Plotinus. That's the story of Atlantis, the story of the ideal city that existed somewhere outside in the Atlantic Ocean. A city built on a circular island, like Santorini before the main explosion. A city that was so advanced and prosperous that the locals there, they were able to create fine arts, build houses, big houses, and travel a lot. They were successful sailors and merchants, as Plotinus says. And they became ruthless after some period. After a period of time, they became ruthless and arrogant. They didn't feel the need anymore to pray for their gods. They felt strong as gods. The gods learned about that and decided to destroy that city. They sent that city under the water. This is the story that Plotinus said before. You know, as we can see, we have some similarities with the city, the ideal city of the story of the ideal city of Atlantis and this site, archaeological site of Akrotiri. So we are talking about Atlantis here. As a Greek archaeologist, I can assure you that we don't have the proofs. Without proofs, we can't say anything. I believe that Platon somehow knew about that story, the story of Akrotiri. He lived 12 centuries later, but somehow he knew about that. I believe this. This is my personal opinion. I believe that somehow he knew, and what he did was that tried to create something, a new story, and tried to send a message to his society, the society of Athens during the 5th century BC. Tried to say to them, guys, remember that we must be humble, not arrogant. Remember our gods, remember where we are coming from. Listen to that story, the story of Atlantis. He was inspired, perhaps, from the story of that city, the city of Akrotiri. So we had some survivors. Who knows? Perhaps somehow he knew. And what he did was that he created that story, the new one. As usual, he was allegoric. He said something and tried to. He meant something else. He said he was inspired and created that story. And as we have today many films based on true stories, I believe that the myth of Atlantis was based on a true story, the story of Akrotiri, the story of the island of Santorini.
Just a couple questions then that I'm just interested in. So they haven't found any bodies whatsoever?
No,
no animals?
We haven't found any bodies so far. We haven't found also the cemetery. This is very important. When we will find the cemetery, we will learn something more. I mean, something about the how many people lived here. We know that we're talking about thousands, not hundreds, but we don't know how many. Of course, we will learn something more, like the organization of the society, for example. If they were equal, when we'll find the cemetery, we will find similar things inside the tombs, for example. This is very important for us.
Well, you think the cemetery does exist?
Of course.
Somewhere.
We have always cemeteries near the prehistoric cities. Sometimes inside the cemetery, the prehistoric cities, we have found in different places, I mean, the tombs near to the buildings, near to the houses, and sometimes under the pavements of the houses. When we're talking about kids, they buried them under the pavements inside the houses. We had always the cemeteries near or just outside the prehistoric cities.
So what do you think personally is the most mysterious thing about this entire city?
You know, the mysterious thing is how they made it to become so advanced, you know? How they became, let's say better, so advanced. How they made it. You know, we're talking about the 17th century, and we're talking about sewage systems, draining systems, and as I said, during the 1967, during the first period, excavation period here, the nearest town, the nearest village of Akrotiri was different. Wasn't so advanced. I mean, they didn't have the draining and sewage system. This is the most mysterious thing. How they made it to become, how they made it to create, to build those houses, and to create those systems.
How do you think they became so advanced?
I believe that they became so advanced because they traveled a lot. They visit different places and they get the knowledge from every different place that they traveled. They went there, they saw something, and they came back and they tried to build it here or to make it better. And they had also to rebuild the same city many different times after earthquakes. We're talking about a very important volcanic place here. It's always active. We're talking about the volcanic arc, an underwater volcanic arc under the Aegean Sea. We're talking about the place where the Eurasian plate and the African plate meeting. They are meeting here. This is the reason.
At the end of the day, where do you think they went? So you basically
we don't have the proofs. I can't say you something without having the proofs. I'm an archaeologist. I believe I can presume. Let's presume we can have different ideas. If they made it, perhaps they went and Crete, the nearest island. But if you think about it, the tsunamis arrived in Crete 45 minutes after the explosion. We're talking about big tsunamis. So I don't know if they were able to do that, if they made it, if it was something easy to do, you know. I don't know.
But there's just no trace of them.
No,
they didn't leave
we don't have
anything
proofs.
in the city.
Nothing.
And
So far, I mean, those beds are the other objects, of course. Yeah, we have found hundreds of objects, advanced objects, clay objects, bronze objects that they used. We're talking about a very advanced society. Different kinds of vases and jars that they used to store their goods. They used them. So we're talking about a very advanced and prosperous society. This is real. This is real. We have the proofs. This is real. Okay. This is the only real that we have.
hello? Okay, go.